Hello, today we're going to demonstrate some basics of how to use Scene Builder. So the first thing we're going to do is sign in. It'll land us in the default workspace. There's a number of workspaces here that you can pick, and they're already full of lots of good stuff. We'll just show one here quick. What we're going to do is add our own workspace. We're going to go call it Demo Basics, for lack of a better name. So now we've added our own workspace, which is empty. It shows up in the list. We'll go ahead and hit that so things are expanded. Actually, we don't want all these expanded though. Let's close those quick. Okay, and then the first thing we're going to do is customize our workspace for us just a little bit. You can pick colors in here. We'll go ahead and go with more of a blue. You'll notice if we go dark enough, the controls invert so that you can have any background color you want without too much thought. You can also pick a font to use. We'll go ahead and use a cursive type 1, and we'll go 10 point. And the sizing is proportional. It uses something under the hood called EM. Sizing for CSS. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and add a block to be our wrapper. It'll be a scene. What we can do in here is there's a number of skyboxes. And it shows the previews of them. These are for video games. We don't have them named. This is a bunch of them that Babylon supplied for us. So we'll go ahead and pick that one. We can also add a ground here, that it will add a material and that sort of thing. Whoop, that's a bump map though. We'll find out what that is some other time. So this will be our scene wrapper. And by the way, the SB colon prefixes or quick fixes, I'll show just a little bit more about that in a moment. So okay, we've created our scene. So if we look around, you can see that there is a box of stuff. We'll go ahead and remove the ground here. The idea is you have a ground and a wrapper box. So this gives us the basically a cube of 6 pictures that forms the basis of our world. In augmented reality, when you're using the camera, you replace these images, or even in virtual reality, you can replace them with images that represent what you want, including a live stream from a camera. There's some camera settings here. We can turn the light up a little bit. In here, we can also turn the guides on, turn the guides off. There's a grid. We'll have to zoom in a little bit more to see that. But there's the grid to help us with our spacing. This is the camera radius. So this is how far the camera is away from the point. It's called an arc rotate camera. So as I use the left mouse, I can rotate around the point. If I use the right mouse, I can move the position of what the camera is looking at. And this also translates to control click for those of you on a Mac. If you use control click, it's equivalent to a right click in this situation. Here we'll take the grid away and leave the guides for now. So we'll go ahead and add a web font here, which is, we'll open a new window. These buttons that has this is open a new window. In general, the plus will add in the window that we're in. So let's go ahead and go back to blocks. A web font allows us to go out to Google and add any web font that we want. In our case here, we'll go ahead and add XR. Not too much, but it adds a block flag with a generic block data. In our situation, what that does is that allows us, we'll go ahead and add text and shape, which allow us 3D text. But our text font family XR will show at the top. But you can use any of the normal web fonts, or I should say browser-based fonts that you use in your HTML. Those are all available. And then the web fonts are also for generating text. Here we have a quick picker for a color, for a material. So this is another shorthand. Now, of course, we have textures and materials, and we'll get into those in a little bit. But here's a color for something. Just to do this quickly, you can define a color in here, and we'll define a different one for the shape. We'll go ahead and do the cylinder. Tessellation is not too important, but there's a number of sides. You'll get a chance to find out more about that as time goes. We'll go depth 2, and this just kind of sizes the whole block. So we'll go demonstration of 3D text, and we'll just go demo 3D text. Go ahead and open this in a new window. Okay, so there's our text. We'll go ahead and go back over here, and we'll add a child block here to our scene. So this is our demo 3D text. So there's our demo 3D text. And if we change things in here, so what we'll find out is each of these pieces, if you can see where I'm highlighting them, is actually a sub block. So if we want to find out more about that, we can go ahead and open that again in a new window. If we want to make changes, say to the color, this landed in here, say we want to add some red, we'll change it here, and you can see the real-time updated here. Now, one corresponds to 256 or 255 in RGB, but in WebGL we can actually go more, so we can make red 2, and you can see the real time. So you can use as many windows. One of the things about Scene Builder is does not have internal pop-ups because it's got real-time data in the cloud. So you just open as many browsers as you want on as many devices as you want, and all of the data is shared in real time. That's the Firebase part. Okay, so we changed the text, made it look a little bit different, showed some real time. We showed the color shortcut. We showed some camera operations. We've moved stuff around. I'm using the left click button here. That once again, the right click button will move around. If we go back here, you'll see that even between these, that the camera shared. So as I move the camera, I do different things in here. It's shared between browsers. If you want to, this is for making a quick picture of it. So if you want a different picture to show up in here, it takes a moment to upload and download, and there it comes. So that's how you add the pictures. Okay, we'll go add some 2D text, which is different than 3D text. Well, here we'll show one more note on the 2D text, or the 3D text, sorry. You can change the text in here on the fly also, and it will re-render it. So when you're looking at programmatically changing things and the data driving them, all you do is set the data in the cloud, and it will generate the 3D text on the fly. Let's go back and get back to one window here. We'll go back to blocks. So 2D text plane. This ends up generating a texture to create the text, but we'll just do 2D text example. So we'll go text, 2D text, line 2. We'll just put example in here. Once again, we can go with the font family. We'll pick Book and Tweakers to do something. We'll put a color in here. We'll go with green. It's RGB. There's a couple other things in here. We're not going to worry too much. So here's our text. It only shows on one side. This is just a 2D rendered. It's like painted on a wall. This is way better performance than 3D text. 3D text you can have depth and has lots of polys, and here we can wireframe it. Here's a chance to show wireframe. So here you can see that the text has a lot of polys. It's got a lot of lines. Those lines show polys. You can see obviously the cone doesn't. The cone's just got a few lines. So the cone is very, the shapes are very efficient. You want to use the shapes as much as possible. The 3D, that's because of download size and also because of poly count. They are effective both as far as the graphics card having to render them, how long the graphics card takes to process them, and how long it takes to download it from the cloud. The shape's the best case. The 3D text is very efficient as far as downloading from the cloud, but if you use a lot of it, the graphics card does have to generate this, and then also, as you can see, there's a lot of polys in it, so you begin to load your scene with basically just text. So let's get out of wireframe. Wireframe sounds fun. There we go. Let's add another block. We'll add our 2D text in here. Okay, and here we'll add a frame so we can position it. So we'll put it above. We'll go ahead and lift him, and then we'll need to rotate him 90 degrees. DEG is one way of, all right, we didn't need to go quite 5. We'll go 3. DEG, like if you want to, we can put 1.571 in there, which is radians. But most people prefer degrees. So there's some shorthands in here to demonstrate that. Okay, let's keep moving. Oh, let's show a little bit of what this is built of. So here's the shape. We're not as worried about this. This is going to end up drilling all the way down into the texture is the key part here. So the 2D text plane, once again, you can see this is real time. Let's change example. It's going to update on all devices. The font family can be picked in here. If we want to, we can pick the web font that we loaded. So you can see the change on that. It doesn't change a lot. You can change some of the sizes. You can change the font weight, bold. I think you can put numbers in here like 700. Things like that. These are HTML properties. The clear color is a little bit different. If you don't have alpha, the clear color starts to matter. Let's not worry about that for this moment. But that's basically on the fly rendered 2D text. This is very, very, very efficient. You want to use 2D text whenever it works well or works decently over 3D text or images or anything else. This is very high performance both to download and to render. Okay, so we did some quick picks. Let's do a quick pick on a mesh. So let's go ahead and add a mesh. We'll just add one here. We'll just call him the B. And we have one in here. We have some different ones of Babylon. The GLBs are the newest stuff. So here's our B. How you doing, dude? So he can come in. GLBs have animations attached to them. You can tell they're pretty cool. Sometimes they do. We'll wireframe them in here, and you can tell that he's got a lot of polys and a lot of detail, so he's a pretty cool guy. So we'll go back here. We can add this guy in here by linking him in. And in this case, these are the different types of blocks: meshes, shapes. A mesh is a pre-generated shape, more or less, that somebody, you can use Blender, you can download them from the web, like Asset Unity Store or Unity Asset Store. The shapes are generated. These are preferred, what you want to use, but meshes make a lot of sense, especially for your characters, for your avatars, for the animations. You can buy advanced ones. They're like the actors in your films. So in this case, we'll go ahead and add in the bee, and he's pretty big. So we'll add a frame. And what we can do is we'll go ahead and scale him down so he's not so big. And then we can also lift him. So there's our bee, and he's put out in the scene with the different things, and he's got a little bit of vibration going. We'll go ahead and add an outer frame. This will give us a play button, so we can go ahead and put 30 seconds out here. This won't matter yet, but this enables the play button, enables the length of the entire animation until it begins to repeat. There's a reason to do that, because the next step, I'm going to add an animated line. And this would be one of the last things, so we're almost through it. So this is an animated line. We'll go ahead and just leave the defaults here. So there he is. He's got a bunch of pieces he animates. He's a block. What you see in here under the frame operators is that they're percentage based. And what they're percentage based off is the wrapper frame. This is the wrapper block, and then these are all children. So the total length of this animation is 1500 milliseconds at this point. So then these children can determine their positions and what's going on based on the outer wrapper. And what this does for us then is if I come out here and I put in 4500, it's going to slow it down. Or I put in 500, it's going to rip it really fast. So that allows us to control the speed of the entire animation with just one number, and then everything else is proportional off of that. I'll get more into that later. We just wanted to show a little bit of that. So if we go back to this one, I can go ahead and add another block here, or link it. I'm trying to call them link blocks, not child blocks. But children are just, everybody likes children. So here we go. We can add a frame here. Right now he's barely moving because he's based on the outside one. Like you can't even see him. But we can control that time in here. So here's 2500 milliseconds, and he's not playing. So he wasn't just moving slow. He just wasn't moving. Or 1500, he's going to go faster in here. We can also do things like rotate him, scale him. All that stuff works in here. So 90 degree, we can rotate him. We can scale him, make him twice as big. And if you want to, we can send him downwards with -5. So we can do those things on here. We've got a mesh in here. We've got some 2D text, some 3D text. We've shown some helper operators, some different things like that. One of the things that we can do is we'll add another frame here. So we can go 100%. And we can move this guy. And so if we go, let's start at -10. But if we put 10 plus plus on here, actually let's go 20. What this does for us, as you'll see, is this bases it off of the previous frame. This is another kind of operator. So he starts at -10, and what this allows us to do is as we move the object, as we move one frame, the frames after it will move proportionally. This is just a helper when you're coding these frames. You'll find out sometimes, gee whiz, I wanted to move this one thing just a little bit. I have to adjust all the frames. If you use relative operators, the concept comes from spreadsheets and cells and relative operators, and that very, very similar, works very similar. So you can see the bee moving around with a relative operator. You can see some animation in there. You can see some 3D text. So that's what we had today. I hope that helps you get going.